All right, people, grab your coffee and settle in. Welcome. Today, we're diving into something absolutely critical for anyone, and I mean anyone, working with high-risk anomalies. We're going to talk about a fundamental shift in our entire containment philosophy.
And I really mean that. We've all seen the reports. We've all read the files on colleagues who got just a little too comfortable, a little too sure of themselves. What we're discussing today, it's a matter of survival, not just for us, but for the very fabric of reality we're sworn to protect. So stay sharp.
So here it is, the central unnerving question that's been keeping the O5 Council up at night. For decades, our approach has been pretty simple, right? Build a stronger box, a Scranton reality anchor for every tear. But what if building stronger boxes is precisely the problem? What if every reinforced wall, every logic lock, is pulling reality so taut that it's on the verge of just snapping?
To really get our heads around this paradox, there's no better case study than my esteemed and frequently exasperating colleague, Dr. Rebecca Harleen. She is the absolute master of the old way, the structuralist approach. Her work is brilliant, it's precise, and it's absolutely vital. But it's also a perfect illustration of the massive risk we're now facing.
And you can see it right here in the feedback. Site Director Light calls her a rigid component. Dr. Mann praises her clinical detachment, her ability to focus solely on the engineering without getting bogged down by, well, scruples. And me? Yeah, our collaborations are legendary, but her startle reflex around my yo-yo is a genuine operational hazard. She is, in every single sense, a paradox.
This really quantifies the paradox perfectly. Her proficiency with our Elon Vital-infused ideation supports is, and I'm not exaggerating, what's keeping some of our worst nightmares in their cages. Her success rate is astounding. But that same hyperfocus, that incredible tunnel vision, it creates a high-stress lab culture that actively disrupts collaboration. And in our line of work, a breakdown in communication isn't just an HR issue. It's a containment breach just waiting to happen.
Which brings us right to the core of the problem, the brittle world hypothesis. So think of reality as a fabric, what we're now calling the weave. Dr. Harleen's method, the traditional foundation method, is to grab that fabric and pull it as tight as humanly possible around an anomaly, forcibly impose order. The issue is that tension creates fragility. One unexpected snag, and the whole thing could tear apart in a ZK-class reality failure scenario, and that means, poof, reality itself ceases to exist.
So what does this mean? It means we need a fundamental shift in our thinking. We have to move away from Dr. Harleen's ideal of absolute silence, a perfectly static, over-engineered, brittle environment, to one of fluid adaptability. We need systems that can bend and flex with metaphysical pressures instead of just shattering under them. We have to allow for the natural ebb and flow of reality, those little Hume fluctuations, not try to stamp them out entirely.
Now, before we get to the solution, it's absolutely crucial we remember the stakes. Think of this as a refresher on the red lines, the non-negotiables, for three of our most, dangerous residents, pulled directly from the latest risk assessment audits. Pay attention.
SCP-682, the Big Lizard. The rules are simple and they are absolute. Keep it submerged, keep it contained in an acid-proof box, and never, ever, under any circumstances, talk to it. A breach response is not a negotiation. It's overwhelming force. Minimum 7-member MTF teams, no exceptions, ever. Next, SCP-106, the Old Man. This one isn't about strength, it's about complexity and distance. 40 layers of lead-lined steel, suspended electromagnetically to confuse its senses. And the most important rule of all, 60 meters. At all times, if someone gets taken, they're gone. We do not attempt recovery.
And SCP-939, of many voices. The danger here is sensory and biological. They mimic the voices of their victims to lure you in. And that's exactly why the pulse monitor rule is absolute. If both monitors flatline, that person is gone. You do not listen to them. You do not try to help. You run. Clear?
Okay, so we've established the problem, the brittle world. And we've reminded ourselves of the stakes. Now let's talk about the solution. This is where we stop building rigid boxes and start actively weaving a new kind of defense. Welcome to the world of thaumaturgical stabilization.
The entire concept hinges on understanding the weave. And forget what you've seen in fantasy novels. Think of it as a fundamental force of the universe, like electromagnetism. It's an invisible fabric of raw energy. The key here,
The huge difference from our old methods is that the weave is an interface. It lets us work with the fabric of reality, reinforcing it locally and dynamically, rather than just imposing a massive, high-tension field on it like a Scranton anchor does.
And just like any other science, this has clear, repeatable methodologies. We've identified 3 primary channels for activation. Vocal, using specific frequencies to shape spells, perfect for combat. Somatic, using precise gestures. Think of it like metaphysical sign language for stealth ops. And material, using a catalyst for an instantaneous, explosive effect. It's a structured, observable, and trainable discipline.
So we have this new science, but a tool is useless without someone who can wield it. So let's talk about our new hammer, Person of Interest 7420.
POI 7420, the Astral Knight, is the living embodiment of this whole new methodology. He doesn't just cast spells, he integrates thaumaturgy into the very flow of combat. He acts as the needle to literally stitch tears in reality itself. Now, a tactical note here for you MTF leads. During these weave-stitching rituals, he is extremely vulnerable. You must prioritize establishing and holding a hard perimeter to allow him to concentrate.
And his toolkit, it's diverse. We're talking short-range teleportation with his Starlight Step, reactive light parries, absorbing incoming energy and channeling it right back out through his blade. He can create sonic detonations, manifest blades of pure shadow. He gives our MTF teams a dynamic, adaptive layer of defense we have never had before. He is a game changer.
Now let's be absolutely crystal clear. Everything I've just presented is not some theoretical research proposal. This is not a what-if. This is a direct mandate from the O5 Council. The message from the very top is simple, and it is non-negotiable. Adapt, or we all fail.
And they've issued some stark warnings. 054 put it bluntly. This new path is incredibly powerful, but it's also unbelievably dangerous. We are pulling at cosmological threads here. Our own curiosity could be the very thing that shatters reality if we aren't meticulous.
054's warning really encapsulates the stakes perfectly, doesn't it? We have the tool, the needle, that could fix the damage, that could reinforce the weave. But a needle can also tear the fabric even wider if it's used recklessly. The potential to save everything is balanced on a knife's edge against the potential to destroy it all.
So here's what this means for you, starting immediately. These are your actionable takeaways. First, mandatory environmental awareness training for specialists like Dr. Harleen. They'll learn to use things like ambient Hume readings as psychological anchors to break that dangerous tunnel vision. Second, we are implementing flexible parameters in all new containment designs. Third, we're establishing collaborative buffers, mandated cooldown areas, what we're calling decap zones, to reduce interpersonal friction. And finally, we will all master and integrate these new thaumaturgical tools.
Look, the old way of just building walls isn't enough anymore. The world is getting more brittle, and the things that live in the dark are getting smarter. We are holding the needle that could stitch it all back together. The only question left is, are you ready to learn how to use it? Dismissed.